Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to another podcast.
No, I said, wait, What is going on, my fellow loners? It is the very first episode of the Loners Podcast. Now, we're going to talk about mainly one thing today, just to kind of test the waters of this actual concept that I have. And the film we're going to talk about in discussion is Tropic Thunder, which was released 12 years ago now, directed by Ben Stiller, starring Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Robert Downey, Jay Baruchel, Brandon Jackson, Nick Nolte, Danny McBride, Tom Cruise. There's a bunch of talent in this film. That is the very first thing that I recognized when I was a kid, when I watched it in my room on my 19-inch TV. And this is one of the best comedies I've ever seen, ever. It's just everything. There's a couple things, I guess maybe story issues I have with the film overall, but that's towards the third act of the film. Now, you have a very serious beginning, and then it quickly becomes something even more epic as the film goes on. The nature of the film, well, maybe I should say the nature of the beast is you have a film that takes itself seriously by Tug Speedman, Ben Stiller, who is in a weird kind of daze, up until the third act of the film when he realizes that it's more than just a movie. It's something, it's real, it's life or death. You have Robert Downey Jr., who is Kirk Lazarus. He's a very well-accomplished actor. It's more or less an exaggeration of Robert Downey in real life because, I don't know how many Oscars RDJ has, but Kirk in the movie, I want to say he has multiple, maybe like 10, or it's never really specified, but it might be. I may have to watch the film again. But something else that I noticed is, RDJ, I think I've known this for a while, but, RDJ is definitely the one reason that I watched the movie. I mean, if he wasn't in it, then we would have to rely on the other comedic abilities of Jack Black and, Brandon Jackson, but RDJ, he's just one of the most perfect castings for that part. I mean, it's literally him playing a dude, playing another dude, disguised as another dude. And it's amazing. I mean, you couldn't get away with blackface in 2020 because there'd be way too much political, issues at hand. And I'm sure the actor, his career might be heavily just battered and withered by that. So you can't do that, Tropic Thunder came out in a very special time, I think. Back when everything was simple. Where no one got hurt. But anyway, so you have Ben Stiller, who plays Tug Speedman. Now, he was an accomplished actor. I don't know what the year, the golden years were for him, but I'm going to assume it's kind of similar to like a BoJack Horseman kind of ordeal where, back in the 90s, BoJack was on a very famous TV show. Well, back in the 90s, Tug Speedman was a very well-and-off actor, doing action movie franchises. Scorcher 2, Scorcher 3, but that's pushing it. And eventually, it became one of those things where the franchise became so popular and so, my stomach, and so, I want to say, it just became so overbearing, and, I'm sure the money got to, the executives' heads and things like that, and they made 6 Scorcher films. Now, Scorcher, Global Meltdown, have not seen it yet, would want to, has not done very well, and it wasn't as bad as Simple Jack. Simple Jack was essentially Ben Stiller mimicking, Forrest Gump or I don't know, Arnie from What's Eating Gilbert Grape. But Simple Jack was hailed as one of the, worst movies ever made. It was a financial disaster, and it didn't make any money. I mean, it made a tiny bit of money. I don't know. It's not specified how much money it made, but it's not good. So, Tug Speedman, he's trying to revive his career, and it's something I actually gave a shit about, Normally in comedies, bad comedies, there's characters that I don't care about, Some of the Dane Cook comedies, like Good Luck Chuck, or one instance I can think of is a movie called Waiting with Ryan Reynolds and Justin Long and Anna Faris, and it's okay. It's not the best comedy. I care more about what I think his name is Jack or Will. I don't remember his actual name, but it's just one of those things where, for a comedy for me to work, I have to care about the characters and what they go through, even if it's a comedy or any sort of, genre in a movie, because if you don't have a character that you can relate to in some way, shape, or form, if they don't have any, sort of hardships, if they don't have any sort of, some sort of connection that you can, correlate to, then I just don't buy it. It's not believable. It's not very kosher. Let's say that word. Now, Tug Speedman is trying to do this and that for his career path, and his agent, played by Matthew McConaughey, the Pecker, I forgot his actual name. I think it's Peck. Or, I don't remember his name. But, Matthew McConaughey does a great job with what he's given. Now, I like Matthew McConaughey. I've seen him in The Wolf of Wall Street. He plays Mark Hanna, which was, even though he wasn't in the film for long, he did an amazing job setting up who Jordan Belfort was going to be as a character. We kind of, in my eyes, it was kind of like a foreshadow to him becoming this self-destructive, successful person. You have a bunch of talent. I'm going to get into the movie, soon, but I just want to go over, more of the talent and the characters in it. You have Danny McBride, who plays Cody. Now, Danny McBride, the whole crew with Seth Rogen and James Franco, the only unfunny actor, I should say, to me, is Seth Rogen. His last comedy that I watched, Long Shot, with Charlize Theron, was terrible. I did not like it at all. It was bad. It was awful, man. Spoilers. There is a joke where he literally shoots his load on his face. And I guess that was supposed to be the punchline, because I didn't laugh throughout the whole movie. There was maybe one joke that, got a giggle out of me, but overall, Seth Rogen, by himself, I don't find his movies very funny. Green Hornet, I'll give a pass to. I like Green Hornet. I got that movie at Blockbuster when I was a kid, and it's been kind of like a little favorite of mine. But, Danny McBride is in the movie, and he plays Cody, who is the pyromaniac, whatever you want to call it. And he and Nick Nolte have fairly small parts. The film opens up with Nick Nolte giving a great monologue, and you have a great battle scene. I think it's maybe 8 minutes long, at least in the director's cut there is, or that's the length of the, scene. But then it quickly devolves into something serious, like I said, and it spirals into comedic chaos. And when I say comedic chaos, I don't mean there's random things happening for no reason. I mean, I don't know how to describe this. I would say that there is maybe like a couple things that, could have been taken out of the film. I don't know. It's It's fine, I guess. Bill Hader's in the movie, but I'm leaving out the most important character in the film, the one that hired, Simple Jack. The one that hired Tug Speedman, I think. If I'm getting it right, I don't remember. And that is Tom Cruise. He plays one of the best characters in the film, Les Grossman. Now, I didn't even recognize that it was Tom Cruise when I first saw it. I was a kid when I saw this movie. I don't remember much, but now that I've rewatched it so many times, and it's so funny. And I think it was my stepmom or my dad that said, "Is that Tom Cruise?" I was like, "Yeah, it is. You've stumbled onto greatness." Tom Cruise just steals the show. So does RDJ, but arguably, I think Tom Cruise, they're both into their characters so well that you don't even know it's them. Literally. Like I said, you probably couldn't make this film nowadays just because of all the issues that it presents with, I guess, white actors taking on black face. I was going to say black people, but that sounds like a war. I don't know. We here at Josh the Loner's podcast do not condone racism. Anyway, so now that we have our main characters, the story, we have this huge battle sequence in the beginning of the film after Nick Nolte's, impressive monologue, and they're basically just talking. Well, he's talking about, out of 3 people, 2 made a movie. No, three people made books. Out of those 2, I think 2 were published, and then 1 got a movie deal. And it's you have a cool little guitar riff too, and it's so cool how everything just meshes together in the film, Now the director's cut has an extended battle sequence, and it's amazing. There's a scene in the end credits where it's introducing RDJ's character, and he has a shotgun and he blows someone away in the chest. But it's not shown in the theatrical cut, so I always tried to find that scene, and then I realized in the director's cut that scene is in there, so it's a really, cool scene. I would recommend getting the director's cut. It's like one of my most prized possessions that I have. So, anyway, you have this huge battle scene going on. You have the Viet Cong versus the Americans, essentially. And it looks great. The effects are great. There's a scene where Jay Baruchel, Kevin Sandusky, gets impaled by a spear, and his guts are falling out. It's a really, gruesome scene. It's really funny, though. And, there's a little edit where he screams, stop. And then in the theatrical version, it's like a weird scream that I never really liked. So I'm glad that, that's in the director's cut. It makes more sense to me and stuff. Kevin Sandusky he read the book of Tropic Thunder that Sergeant Four-Leaf Tayback, Nick Nolte, made. And he read the book, he went to boot camp, he actually prepared for this movie, while everyone else didn't do it, and I think it's amazing, He's a younger guy, too. I want to say he's maybe his late 20s, maybe early 20s, I could be wrong about that. Now, Brandon T. Jackson's character, Al Pacino, in the third act, there is some sort of correlation they're making with the real Al Pacino. I don't know anything about it, but maybe I'll link it in the description or something. But there's something with, Al Pacino, and he has a marketing campaign based on his drink called Booty Sweat, and his food, well, I think it's a granola bar or an energy bar called Bustin' Up Bar. And that's the very first promotional trailer that you see in the movie. Because when the movie actually starts, there's 4 promotional trailers. The first is Al Pacino's. The second is, I believe it's Tug Speedman's. The third is Jeff Portnoy, Jack Black. And the fourth is my favorite, Satan's Alley, which is Robert Downey Jr. And I'll let you guys search that up because there's a special cameo in that movie if you haven't seen Tropic Thunder. So I would recommend watching it. Now, Al Pacino, he's a pretty rich guy. I mean, he's essentially a parody of, I think, R. Kelly, just because, there's a phone call. I guess it's a callback to when R. Kelly did some things, and he like pissed on a girl or something. I don't know. I don't. It's disgusting. I don't really care about that. But yeah, so Al Pacino is a big pop star, and he's into acting. So, he plays Motown. I think his character's name is Motown in the film. He's like this really young, young guy. He's really rambunctious and wild, and I like him. He's cool. Brandon Jackson was also in the Percy Jackson film. I think he was in the second one also. And then that shit got canceled, I guess, because maybe the ratings weren't good, or it didn't make enough at the box office, or maybe the critical reception was bad. But anyway, you have Jeff Portnoy, who is he's successful. He has some drug problems here and there, which are addressed early on in the film, and I like his story a little bit. It's played for laughs, but when you're dealing with parents that have gone through drugs, drug addiction, rehabilitation, and maybe even sometimes relapse, it's kind of hard seeing, characters that you like suffer. You want to see them being built from the ground up again, essentially. Now, oh man, I'm sorry I keep pausing. I'm trying to think of what to say because it's on the spot, so this is all live. Let's just say that Jeff Portnoy, I feel that Jack Black was giving it his all, and I kind of wish he had a little more screen time, but, with a huge cast of talent, you kind of have to split it up throughout the 2-hour runtime, 2 hours, 27 minutes, whatever it is. So, Jeff Portnoy, Al Pacino, Kevin Sandusky. There's a great running gag where everyone forgets Kevin's first and last name, and it's really funny, especially from RDJ. Speaking of, so Kirk Lazarus, he is, like I said, a very accomplished actor in the film, and he can do so many different accents, and I don't think there's been one bad movie he's been in, but he does such a great job with what he's given. So essentially the story is Kirk Lazarus undergoes a pigmentation surgery, and he becomes black. He changes his dialect from, it sounds British, Kirk Lazarus's voice in the film, and then Lincoln Osiris, his voice is Australian, and it's really, really funny. And I like Australian actors. I think one of my favorites probably is Jason Gann, who made the Wilfred miniseries, and then he made an American version with Elijah Wood, which I really like. But that's for a different video. So, you have, Lincoln Osiris, and Robert Downey Jr. does such a great job. Almost every scene he's in, he just kills it. I mean, there's a scene where he has to go in disguise again towards the end of the film and put on I think it's a Mandarin Chinese accent. He does that great. Hell, there's fucking subtitles. Oh my god. I don't want to spoil it for you because if you haven't seen Tropic Thunder, then you have to watch it now. It's so funny. Let me think. You have, I think that's about it for, like, the main cast. Yeah. Like I said, I don't want this podcast to run, for a long duration just because this is the first episode. I don't want to bore you guys, but the main intention of a podcast, at least for me, is to just make it, you can have it on in the background if you're like making dinner or if you're, I don't know, playing a video game or maybe walking, running away from life's problems. But I hope you guys did enjoy this podcast. I think I'm going to call it quits for right now. I got some things to do. I have to go to Tally and I have to edit some videos. That's one thing. Going to Tally, it takes 15 minutes to get there. And it just drains the life out of me. The walking, finding a place to sit. I mean, I've been really sore because I've been there for 6 or 7 hours at a time just editing and working on things. And it hurts, my back hurts a lot, my shoulders hurt. So, I'm relieved to come back home and just sleep. But I start my job in about a week and a day, so I'm just waiting to see what happens. So, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to this very first episode of the Loners Podcast. It really means a lot to me if you guys watch the whole duration. Yeah. So I'll see you guys next. I don't know what I'm going to work on, honestly. My channel's not really, it doesn't have a set schedule. It doesn't have like a set day of when I do anything. I'll do something though, don't worry. But let me know if you guys do enjoy this. I always like listening to podcasts and things like that, hearing someone's thoughts on a film. Hope you guys do enjoy, if you're listening right now. And I'll catch you guys later.